Hello. It seems a shame if you're missing your class novel. Does seem a shame. So I thought it might be nice if I read you a class novel. I can read you a chapter a day, and I'm going to read you Pugs of the Frozen North by Philip Reeve and Sarah McIntyre. If you have got a copy at home, you might like to look at the pictures with me, because the pictures in this book are amazing. Sarah McIntyre did the pictures, and they are super lovely. I won't be able to show you all of those. So if you've got a copy, read along. And maybe you could buy a copy. I don't know whether that's going to be possible or not, but it'd be nice, wouldn't it? So I'm going to read today Pugs of the Frozen North. I'll read you chapter 1. Tomorrow you can have chapter 2. Chapter 1. Winter came in the night like a white sheet laid over the world. It came so cold and so fast that the waves of the ocean froze as they rolled, and the good ship Lucky Star froze with them, trapped tight in the suddenly solid sea. Shen, the cabin boy, the youngest member of the crew, stirred in his sleep as the sounds of rippling and splashing faded into frozen silence. He snuggled deeper under the covers, trying to keep warm. In the silence came other noises. First, the creaking of metal as the ice tightened its grip upon the old ship's sides, and then the voice of Captain Jeggings bellowing, "All hands on deck!" The crew bumbled, blinking from their bunks. Able Seaman Bo, Mungbean, the ship's cook, and Shen. They stumbled out onto deck and they stared at the frozen waves which reared up all around them, stiff and as white as giant meringues. "Don't just stand there," shouted Captain Jeggings, hauling an icy rope. "Get us out of here!" The rope snapped in his hands with a sound like breaking glass. Ksh! The Lucky Star groaned, and it quivered as the ice clenched tighter. "What shall we do?" asked Shen. But Captain Jeggings didn't know, and neither did Able Seaman Bo, neither did Mungbean. They'd weathered storms and they'd sat out calms, but they'd never seen a sea like this before. Creak, crunch, big tusks of ice pushed the planks apart and pierced the Lucky Star's sides. Slosh, gurgle, cold black water, which hadn't frozen yet, came swirling in. The ship sagged and all the icicles that decked her rigging tinkled cheerfully. But Captain Jeggings couldn't see anything to be cheerful about. "The cargo!" he shouted. "We must save the cargo!" All summer long, the Lucky Star had been cruising from port to port, selling this and buying that. 2,000 chunky knit jumpers from the islands of Arran, a second-hand snowmobile, and 66 pugs. Captain Jeggings had said those tiny dogs would sell like hot pies, and now, down in the leaking hold, they set up a terrible howling as cold water sloshed around their little paws. "The dogs!" shouted Shen. "The dogs! We must save the dogs!" Mungbean and Bo went running down the steep stairways which led to the cargo holds and came struggling back up with crates of jumpers, and Captain Jeggings winched the snowmobile over the ship's side. Meanwhile, Shen upended the boxes where the pugs slept. The tiny dogs raced up on deck and jumped off the Lucky Star's sides onto the ice. Nice picture of them jumping onto the ice. I don't know if you can see it. Shen had heard about rats leaving a sinking ship before, but he'd never heard of pugs leaving a freezing one. "There's a first time for everything," he thought, as he dragged the sack which held their leads up onto deck, and he threw it after them. The Lucky Star shuddered again, squeezed in the teeth of the ice. Rivets popped out of the deck. The funnel trembled like a chopped tree. "Abandon ship! Women and captains first!" yelled Captain Jeggings, jumping over the side. But Shen had thought of something else that needed to be saved. "The dog food! It's still on board!" "It'll have to stay there, then," yelled Bo, jumping down onto the ice with Mungbean. Shen passed the smallest of the pugs down to them, and then he jumped after them. With a final heave, the ice crushed the old ship flat. Shen and the pugs stood and shivered while Captain Jeggings and the others got the snowmobile ready. Its engine coughed and snarled as they started up. Into its trailer they piled the crates of cargo, but there was no room for the little dogs. "We can't leave them behind," wailed Shen. "Well, we can't stay here with them," said Captain Jeggings. "This ice might melt as quickly as it came, and then where would we be? Way out at sea without a ship under us. Awkward." He had told Shen that the 66 pugs would sell like hot pies, but he meant that they would sell in hot pies. His auntie ran a pie shop at home, and she was always looking for new ingredients. They were by far the least valuable bit of his cargo, so he had decided to leave them behind. "Maybe they'll follow us," said Shen, and he climbed aboard the snowmobile with Bo and Mungbean and the captain. "Come on, doggies!" he yelled after the pugs. The dogs looked up at him, heads on one side. Their hot breath steamed and smouldered in the cold air like the breath of 66 tiny dragons. The snowmobile set off with a roar. The tower of crates in its trailer teetered and swayed as it went weaving its way between the frozen waves. The pugs sat where they were and watched it go. "Come on!" shouted Shen, but they didn't seem to understand. There they are, just waiting around, waiting for something to happen. "Wait for me, Captain!" he yelled, and he jumped down off the snowmobile. The frozen waves were slipperier than hills of ice. They were slipperier than hills of glass. He slithered over them back to where the pugs sat, and when they saw Shen coming, their tails began to wag, and they ran to meet him. "Come on, doggies," he said, patting 66 small, soft little heads and getting licked by 66 small, soft tongues. "You've got to follow Captain Jeggings." But when he turned to look for the snowmobile, it was nowhere to be seen. Either Captain Jeggings hadn't heard when Shen shouted for it to wait, or he had decided that Shen and 66 pugs weren't worth waiting for. That's the end of the chapter. Look, there's the pugs, and there's Shen on the ice, and look, you can't see the snowmobile. It's gone, gone, gone. Tomorrow I will read you chapter 2, but for today, that's all from me. Hope you have a lovely day. Bye.